Welcome back, everybody, to the World Championship Series Day 1. We are already in the 6th match of the day. And for our next match, our first player is a ZvP player that recently joined Root Gaming after being on a Kespa team. He is looking to show a premier result after winning a minor tournament quite recently, a few weeks ago. Please give a warm welcome to Root Gaming's Hydra. Hydra will be going up against a Polish player from Team Liquid. He's been performing amazingly recently. In the round of 32, he was in the group of death and came out easy in first place. He is currently in the group of death again in the round of 16, and he said, come on, bring on the challenge. Please give a warm welcome to Team Liquid's MaNa. Will MaNa be able to keep his word and take on this challenge, or will Hydra take out and defeat him in the first match of this group? Gentlemen, please shake hands. It's time to get this underway. Let's head back to the desk with Apollo.
Thank you very much, Smix. Yes, we're in game number 2 of Group C to find out who's going to the winners match and unfortunately who's going down to the lower bracket. First of all, if you don't know too much about Hydra and his recent adventures, let's find out.
The Korean Zerg Hydra has recently picked up his life and moved to California in hopes of becoming a WCS hero. Despite unexpectedly losing his first official WCS match, he bounced back flawlessly to claim his spot in the round of 16.
Moro has played a great day of StarCraft 2. He was able to defeat Hydra in the first series of the day. But in the end, it's not going to be enough, as indeed that is a whole lot of Zerg.
Hydra now joins a very tight Group D, which includes 2 strong European players in MaNa and Firecake, as well as the 2-time WCS champion Polt.
Root Gaming's Hydra makes his debut into the World Championship Series here in 2015 and is the highest ranked player of all 16 players that are left in this tournament. Rotterdam, you covered his games and I heard your sweet, sweet Dutch voice in that video. Talk to me about your experience with him in the round of 32.
Hydra is awesome, man. Like, he had an amazing track record going into the WCS round of 32 where he didn't lose in over 60 series in a row against non-Koreans. And then it's very ironic that, especially the tournament that he moved for to the other side of the world, the first best of 3, he loses. And me and Nate, we both looked at each other because we saw Hydra as the guy who's going to win WCS Premier League Season 1. We said it all along, like, yeah, 4GG, Polt, Snoot, Vani, MaNa, they're all amazing, but we saw Hydra as the guy that was going to take Season 1. And then, like, in the break after that first series, we just look at each other, it's like, what the hell's going on? Like, this is not supposed to happen, but he bounced back really well and he still advanced. And I think especially even after that round of 32 performance where he wasn't as dominant as we hoped and maybe expected, since then, he's been doing amazing, though. Like, he played a great series against Zest at IEM, where he came so close.
And Zest won the whole tournament.
Yeah, closer than anyone else to defeating Zest. And in Gfinity, he was pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, he made his first ever final in StarCraft 2. That's a great feat for any player to be able to achieve that. So is it safe to say that he still is your favorite for this?
Yeah, my boy.
All right.
My boy.
Floris, Fenner, what are your thoughts?
I think he's my favorite for the entire tournament as well.
No! Yes. 2 of you?
One thing about him is he's incredibly fast. He's got 450 APM in this tournament, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's the average over 3 series after losing one of them. That's
stupid.
That's high. He's the highest, right?
Yeah, he's the highest. And one thing Kat said as well when he moved to the Root House, Hydra is in the corner and he's playing away. And Kat said something like, it sounds like there's raindrops in the corner because of how fast Hydra's actually playing.
That's incredible. Cloris, what are your thoughts on this? You jumping on the hype train here of Hydra?
Initially, I wasn't, actually. Initially, when it came into this season, I thought that Hydra wouldn't do as well as, say, a 4GG or a Polt here going forwards. But after seeing his performance at Gfinity, I'm possibly sold. He's looking really, really good at the moment.
Well, one player that's going to have to try to tackle this beast is MaNa, who's been performing very, very well recently. What does he have to say?
My round of 32 group played out as I expected, I think. I expected Vani to win versus Meyer, and I was expecting, of course, myself to win versus Violet, but it worked out easier for me than I expected, though. The overall top 16 at the end of WCS is in my mind, for sure. I think every single pro gamer really wants to compete in the finals, feel the crowd and everything. But do I really expect myself to be there? Well, at this time, not really. It's just the beginning. I will keep on improving myself, and if I will see myself in a good spot, in run of 8s and so on, then I will try even harder to reach the top 16.
One of the most lovable characters we've had in StarCraft 2 of all time here. I think there's not too many people out there that don't like MaNa and don't cheer for him at every single tournament that he plays in. And then recently, he started to turn his career around. I think it's safe to say in Wings of Liberty, he was one of the best, one of the best European Protoss players that we've had. In Heart of the Swarm, things changed. He dropped down a little bit. Other players rose up and overtook him. But recently, he's starting to get back to where he used to be, Roddy.
No, he's on a real hot streak, and I totally agree with you. Like, when people talk about Wings of Liberty and talk about the best foreigners, they often don't mention him, and that's just wrong, because he was one of the absolute best non-Koreans in Wings of Liberty. Like, over time, over years, he has won big tournaments, he's made it to the final at multiple tournaments, and he also had so many tournaments in a row where he always made top 8, where no other foreigner was even doing it anymore. So he is absolutely one of the biggest stars of Wings of Liberty, and I agree. Start of HOTS, he was still sort of there, then he fell off a little bit, but now he's on a really solid streak, and he just keeps on, I would almost say, surprising us by not just winning, but the way that he's winning his games as well, which often dominant, legit, straight up, like the MaNa we always knew, but he's still doing it in this day and age, and that's really impressive.
And I think a lot of his history, he's struggled against Zerg, and he's managed to change that round as well, and we saw that in the round of 32, in his first match against Violet, there was again question marks, well, is he actually going to do well here? And he did do well, and then he went on to beat Bunny as well on top of that, another great player. What stood out for you about MaNa in the round of 32, having rewatched his games?
What I love about MaNa is, even though, like Rotterdam said, he's a straight-up player, so you'll see him go up to 3 bases all the time, 2 bases, he'll macro up hard. But even though he goes up to 3 bases, he's always extremely active with his units, always across the map, being aggressive, doing stuff for them. One thing I saw, I think it was against Violet, I might be wrong on this, there's a bunch of Swarmos burrowed, and he was just using Blink Stalkers in the most effective manner. Blink Stalkers at the front, soaking up the Locust, and then blinking into the main, pushing forward, blinking in over at the third, just superb control over all of his units.
All right, well, we could take a closer look here at the map selection for this best of 3 series and see which way we're going to go with this. The first map, Catalina. Second map, Vani Research Station. And then Overgrowth. Clarius, how do you think this matchup's going to play up then between these two? We've got Hydra, who is on a super, super hot streak, but then again, MaNa has been able to surprise a lot of people as he returns to form. Both players rising up.
Yeah, the return to form for MaNa is something that actually, you mentioned that it was his time was in Wings of Liberty. The games that we saw in the round of 32 for me were very Wings of Liberty MaNa-esque. He was always very, very aggressive and always being in the Zerg's face. But I think Hydra is a guy that can accommodate that quite easily. I mean, he's had to play some of the most aggressive Protoss in the world in the past couple of weeks, with having to play against Zest and playing against Parting. Not Zest as much, but Parting definitely going up against him in Gfinity. So I think Hydra will be able to prevail in this one.
Well, I mean, looking at it on paper, we've brought up Parting, we brought up Zest. These are two huge, huge names. MaNa's not on that level, it's safe to say. And Hydra's lost in close series against both of them. That must mean, though, that MaNa's got a massive uphill battle, Kevin.
He definitely has a massive uphill battle, but if there's one thing that I do think that obviously, whenever you can watch replays or games of your opponent, that's always going to help you. But I think that in particular is going to help you against the style that Hydra is playing, because Hydra is often all about surprise, all about, switching it up, and all about selling a story and then doing something different. And you can learn so much from watching a game or watching a series that, like, Hydra has played, and he's played a lot of very high-profile ZvPs lately. Like, I still believe in Hydra, and I think that Hydra is still the guy to take it all. But this is one of the series that is very difficult for him. I don't think there are many more difficult opponents for Hydra in this tournament than MaNa. And I know that sounds a little bit like a stretch, but ZvP can go like that. If your opponent has a good read on you, and your opponent is Protoss, then this can be a very difficult matchup to play as Zerg.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. MaNa is going to have to put on a lot of aggression. It's what he's good at. Hydra is going to have to try and defend that aggression really well. Hydra does like to go Swarm Host, and I've seen MaNa play really, really well against the Swarm Host with all the attack and with the Blink Stalkers. So I think he's got a chance, even though Hydra is one of the strongest players in this tournament, as long as he can play his A game.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, guys. Awesome input once again. It's time for the second game of Group C as we close. We're getting very close to closing up the day here, day one of the World Championship Series Premier League Season 1 finals. And now it's time for a historic matchup between Poland and Korea.
Thanks, Apollo. Thanks, boys. As I think analysis pretty spot on. Hydra is someone who plays very, very fast. He had some pretty cool games, actually. Didn't beat any of the Protosses that he went up against at the Gfinity Spring, but I think cheesing him is something that shouldn't be in MaNa's playbook.
I mean, losing to Rain and Parting, there's definitely, you know, worse things that can happen to you. In StarCraft, like, these guys are pretty insane, and he had close games against them. To be honest, the Parting games, I feel like these weren't even normal. Like, they don't even count.
They were all crazy. Parting doesn't play like any other Protoss.
I mean, not even just like that, just the execution, everything about what Parting was doing, like, nothing was supposed to work. Gateway units are not supposed to kill, you know, somebody who goes like Ling Hydra and has enough Hydras to fight it. Just his force field, his army positioning, everything was perfect, and somehow it made it work. I actually talked a little bit with Hydra about this, and he told me that, well, I asked him, how do you think you're going to do against MaNa? And he told me, I already win. That's what he said. I'm not even kidding.
A very confident player in Hydra, and of course, MaNa had a really good round of 32 performance. The only other PVZs I actually saw him play lately were in the Frybite Masters, where he dropped out pretty quickly. Maybe wasn't as focused as he's preparing for WCS.
Yeah.
But let's see what these guys can do here as we have one of the tournament favorites up against, well, one of the foreign players that has been building some heat, momentum in WCS. And we're loaded into map number 1 on Catalina. Our first player in the top position representing Root Gaming, he is Hydra. Of course, just coming off of that, as we were talking about earlier, second place at Gfinity Spring. His opponent in the southeast, the red Protoss representing Team Liquid, he is MaNa.
Interesting to note that Hydra in the Gfinity finals up against Parting, the 2 games that he won, he went for a very quick speed and a lot of links and basically all in, and somehow it worked. It looked a little bit, you know, as much as I thought that, you know, if he did it one time, it would be to mix it up. Looked a little bit desperate, you know, like he didn't really know what to do, wanted to try something, and in the end, both times, you know, it worked. So here up against a MaNa who I'm sure he thinks is better than, won't necessarily need to cheese, but rather, you know, than play reactionary style. I asked Hydra about the games that he had against Parting, because, you know, like when you go Ling Hydra lists, once you reach a certain amount of Hydra lists, you're not supposed to lose to Gateway units anymore.
Yeah.
And he told me that he thought there was a few things he could have done better, you know, in terms of army movement, maybe droning up a little bit less. So he fully realized that, you know, there's definitely quite a few things he could have done better. And going into this match, he really, really sounded to be very confident.
Yeah, Hydra's been, since his time playing in London, he actually went to Switzerland. He was staying at the My Insanity house so that he wouldn't have to worry about anything like jet lag coming into this tournament. He's been able to get some time to acclimate himself to the surroundings, the time zones, and should be playing a much more comfortable tournament. Of course, MaNa didn't have to come very far himself to play here, so both players should be in about as good a condition as you can really get for this type of tournament.
Yeah, not everybody can be like some of those top Korean players like life, you know, like travel last second, still win tournaments. It's something that actually a lot of players have come a long way, you know, with dealing with. Even Pig, you know, came much earlier, stayed in Paris for a little bit, practiced there, adjusted to jet lag very, very well. Sadly for him, you know, didn't pay off yet. He's not out of it. But yeah, Hydra, going into this, I feel like not just this group, but this tournament, he has the potential to go very far. But I wouldn't go as far as saying, as you know, it's a sure thing here up against a MaNa who, again, has shown very good things recently. He has shown he could mix it up a lot. Actually, his round of 32 matches, some of them were really, really nice. Like there was this game where he went, you know, for big gateway aggression with +1. Like he knows from time to time how to cheese a little bit. I remember actually, you know, back when playing against Broodlord Infestor was really, really hard and everybody was struggling a lot. MaNa, at some point, he basically said, well, I'm tired of going Phoenix into, you know, like regular Colossus and things. I'm just going to go Immortal all-ins, and he beat Stefano quite a few times. Stefano, who at the time was the top foreigner, quite easily.
We saw a lot of Immortal all-ins in those days, but I agree. You know, MaNa. I guess it's like we talk about how MaNa was and how he did all this cool stuff, but this is supposed to be the time where he's really getting back into the swing of things because he hasn't been able to make a big explosion. I think he won like a couple of online tournaments, maybe. I know the base trades like best European player or something that half the European players didn't really participate in, but you know, he's been active. He's been playing a lot, and these few lings able to slip in for Hydra, gets a probe kill, just being annoying in general, but also getting a very important scout for Hydra, and I don't think there's anything terribly threatening for him to see just yet.
Yeah, not yet. I think also like MaNa, by look of things, he's just going to go, you know, for additional gateways, possibly one Forge as well, would be very standard here. He had some disappointing games in Fragbyte. Lost 1-2 to both Violet and Firecake.
They were ugly series too. Like, I mean, just being straight up, man. I think the
selling those VODs for us.
I mean, I'm thinking about like the game he played against Violet on Expedition Lost, a map that he vetoed for this series, MaNa, and he just caught off guard by some lings. He had a game where he just kind of moved out on the map and just got caught randomly, it seemed. But and then of course against Firecake, well, you guys take a wild guess what happened there.
The thing is, I mean, no offense to Fragbyte, but it's not as big as WCS. WCS is the best and biggest tournament in StarCraft 2. That's where it counts the most. So, you know, a few of these players, they didn't have a strong performance recently in tournaments, like, you know, Snoot at Gfinity, but I feel like they were mostly focusing on those WCS games here that they have. And what we saw from MaNa in the round of 32 was some very refined build, you know, a very quick third, a lot of Blink Stalkers all in, and the other game, a 7 gateway +1. So here, I expect the exact same thing. Very, very refined builds, refined timings, and possibly deadly ones. Yeah. Or at least attempted.
It seems like this game, with the 3-base setup that Hydra's on now, moving up to Lair, because he has speedlings, going for one of those fast third bases that some Protosses try to do on this map doesn't seem like much of an option. And with just starting +1 attack now, do you think can he actually push with +1, or is he just going to have to take maybe a later third base than he wanted?
You can do both. With like enough sentries, as long as you move out and you stay up against the walls, where like you can't get completely surrounded with your sentries, and he's doing just that. Look, he's gonna take a third base, and usually when you have this many sentries, it's always worth it to go for a move out anyway, because like he's gonna scout very soon with an hallucination.
Oh, he manages to slip through. The Zealot just barely not blocking it, and the Stalker, if he loses this with that's quite painful. The Sentry's not in position to force field. The Zerglings are gonna be able to run straight into the main base. He warps in 2 Zealots that are not able to block this off, and it looks like Hydra's gonna be able to get some probe kills here on MaNa.
This was so close. He actually had one of his gateways on cooldown. Now MaNa realizes that he's going to be able to kill all of the Zerglings. He realized that Hydra might not have too many units, and actually he has 0 other than for the Zerglings, so he starts moving across the map.
Yeah, MaNa's seeing an opportunity here. There is an Overlord that spots this Sentry move out, and immediately we see Hydralisks on the production tab, but they do not have the range upgrade yet, and without that, Force Fields do a fantastic job of blocking in the way. Unfortunately for MaNa, as he continues to lose some probes here, as he moves out across the map, where he's pushing, there's no hatchery to kill.
12 Hydralisks on the way. Hydra skipping this road run, much like he did versus Parting. This is going to be so deadly against just gateway units for now. There isn't even a Robo on the way here, so we're not going to see any kind of Colossus play anytime soon. And man, I feel like Hydra from there, with the, you know, the slowing down that he's done of MaNa's economy and tech a little bit, if he wants, he could just make units and go for some deadly attacks. The thing is, it will be an all-in. So rather than do that for now, he's just going to get units with Zerglings and Hydralisk. He knows that he's ahead economically. Oh, if he could deny the scout, oh, it's actually massive. Because right now, MaNa's playing absolutely in the dark. Look, he's going to start some cannons. He saw some Hydras in the middle of the map. He's all in. But Hydra actually...
With the Hive behind this, he can go into Vipers, and he's got late game tech in position. In fact, he could even neutralize the cannons if he wanted to push them later, since he could just blinding cloud them.
Swarmost, he could do anything he wants. He's getting an Evo as well.
Catching some of these probes trying to move out, and he might even be able to target those sentries if they're too close. The cannons aren't done just yet, so Hydra's actually able to make something work right on top of this ramp. Forces out the Photon Overcharge, kills one of the cannons, and is being force fielded even more. He might get the Mothership Core too. So close, doesn't quite get it. He's going to get the Photon Cannon, and now Hydra's able to just spill into the natural. We have one Swarm host on Axlane production tab, but yeah, he just takes the game right here. I wasn't expecting it to end so suddenly, Todd.
Me neither, and I think MaNa
he just kind of like got up the ramp and killed him with the Hydras.
It's funny because it wasn't even an all-in. He was on 62 drones. He could, you know, drone back a little bit more. It was just, you know, timing that you hit because you feel that he might do some damage, but It did more than some damage.
All the sentries were back at the third base, I guess. So
the thing on this map is it's very hard to defend between the natural and the third base. Like if you stand in one, then obviously the Zerg player is just going to attack the other one. So if you stand in the middle, then it's going to be very difficult if you don't have enough units, which was the case here. So usually you need to spread out your sentries perfectly, force field exactly enough units, but this time too many links, and Hydra's got up the ramp before he could force field, and then when you start losing sentries up the ramp, usually it's the beginning of the end.
Yeah, I was quite surprised. He didn't seem to react too quickly to the forces pushing up that natural ramp, especially since, I guess as you mentioned, the sentries all being at the third base makes it very difficult because then you have to move down into that valley where the sentries themselves are quite exposed, and in that position, you can't really win on two bases without all that tech set up, and at that point he probably would have lost the gateways, and then he wouldn't have enough production to ever push that back. So Hydra just kind of capitalized. It didn't really seem like there was a crazy opportunity, but MaNa just slowed down too much, I guess, by the probes that he lost earlier.
Honestly, I've always thought that this style of going for, Zergling straight into Hydralisks very quickly, because like the thing about this is that the lair starts very quickly, and you're almost always going to be able to get enough units to be able to hold almost any all-in that could be thrown at you. And right now, Protoss versus Zerg, nobody tries to macro straight up, go into 3-4 bases. They all get a bunch of units on 2 bases or 3 bases, do pushes, do timings at the same time as they're attacking and upgrading more. And it's just great for Hydra to be able to kind of master this style that nobody else is really playing too much.
Yeah.
Against Parting, it didn't work out, but like honestly, I watched those games and I still don't understand how Parting was able to make this work. Like, surely, like every single strategy in StarCraft 2 has counters, but I would have never thought that the counter to like Zergling straight into Hydralisks like this would be just gateway units and force fields.
Yeah, when you're Parting, it kind of seems like anything is possible. There's a reason why he's had such sick results lately. But it's time for map number 2. We're playing this one out on Vani Research Station. And these two guys, this Protoss player needs to take this map to keep his hopes alive of making it to the winner's match, but he has to take this guy out the next 2 games. In the top position representing Root Gaming, he is Hydra. A lot of people very excited to see a potential Hydra Pult matchup later on in this tournament. His opponent in the bottom position, the red Protoss from Team Liquid, it's MaNa.
MaNa, who for a very long time resorted to going, expansion to Stargates, 4 Phoenixes into Colossus, was really good at execution, practiced in Korea for some time. But nowadays, you need to mix it up a lot more than that. And nowadays, the standard is +2 and blink.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what everybody does majority of the time. Is there anything else if MaNa wanted to kind of throw something out of left field here, aside from just like a straight up gateway push? Like, is just opening with that not as good? I've seen some players open up with Oracle into the +2 blink, but
there's quite a few aggressions that you can do, but most of them rely on, hoping that you're not going to be scouted. And in this case, he's going gateway 13 with a quick scout, so I'm pretty sure this is going to be for a Nexus behind it. I haven't seen gateway into
Hydra's drone.
15.
Hydra's going to go straight for the gold base.
I mean, he's on route.
Yeah.
You know who else is en route?
Cats. It's really funny because in Hydra's series against Rain, the one map that he was able to take off of him was the map that Rain cannon rushed him, and then Hydra's built Swarm House outside of Rain's base.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's like, yeah, Cats told me to do this if I get cannon rushed, and he like crushed Rain.
Yeah, it actually wasn't even close, man.
No, that was an ugly game.
Why? It was beautiful.
Well, I imagine
you shall not cannon rush me.
I mean, you're the Protoss. I thought you'd be agreeing with me on this.
I just thought it was cool to see, like, this reaction. And also, like, Rain was completely lost against. He just stood in his base with Colossus shooting at Locust for like 15 minutes before dying to the Vipers on 2 bases.
I like how you take a player as like mechanically gifted as Hydra and you put him with a mind like Cats, and then he suddenly has all these weird pocket strategies that he can throw out if he needs to, and it makes him a very difficult to read player because you don't look at him and say, oh, he's just going to play the standard Korean meta like all the other Korean Zergs was. Like, no, I've got some crazy stuff in my sleeve.
That's the beauty of StarCraft too. Like, you don't have to play macro every game. Like, you have to play mind games here and there and win them, and if you can do that, that's also going to make you a great player. And Hydra definitely is one of those guys, that can mix in some of those special builds and make them work. And so far, no hatchery has been scouted by MaNa. He just saw the gas. We'll see if he realizes exactly what's happening here in a second.
I mean, he's got to be tipped off at least a little bit about this by now. Well, he didn't actually check the natural now that you mention it, so...
I'm starting to feel a Stargate here by MaNa. I don't know why.
And the probe's going to check the watchtower, but he's not yet checked that gold base. and the creep won't spread in division. So the fact that he actually didn't go down to Hydra's natural kind of bothers me a little bit, because it doesn't seem like he's 100% aware of where this game is right now, because Hydra's just going to get an insane income lead just by having that gold base.
I really like that Hydra, you know, he doesn't go for like a pure gamble, you know, hatch first on gold, another hatch. He went for that, but then he goes for speed at the same time. He's going to have a lot of, you know, defending capability with that, even aggression. Possibly, you know?
Yeah, I mean, when you really think about it, it's like if you scout that your opponent has this fast, high-yield base, then you have two options to try to somehow find a way to be greedier, or you've got to, like, attack it. And if you're going to attack it, then obviously the Zergling speed gives him just enough extra oomph for his forces that he can build. You know, being able to defend becomes suddenly much easier. We can already see that income counter, wonderful observer is showing us, just spiking up now for the Zerg, who's actually behind on workers.
That Overlord, man, needs to get out of here. Should be able to.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a single forge drop down for now. By MaNa, still no additional gateways. That's not a full wall, by the way, with his Zealot. He definitely needs to be looking, you know, to add something else to this. Really like Hydra's choice to take the base, by the way. Rather than take the indoors one, he went for the other.
Yeah, he's just pocketing it. I mean, if your opponent doesn't attack you and you have this wide open area, if you spread creep, it's a bit easier. And then in the late game, you've got extra resources if the game goes long.
I mean, it's more about if he gets attacked before, I think, where like he can reinforce so much easier with this.
That's true. You don't have to run all the way out of the corner of the map. Tries to get a few lings up the ramp, not able to make it. MaNa still has not seen any of the expansions for Hydra, so he has absolutely no idea what's going on. And is this because he's just got one thing that he's set on doing, or he doesn't really, you know, does it affect his strategy, I guess? He's not concerned?
I mean, like right now, both players have a plan. Like they know that there's nothing that will surprise them too much. Like the one that needs to put more effort into scouting is Hydra, but all he has at his arsenal right now is slow Overlord. So I think he's just going to wait for Lair to finish, morph an Overseer with the Overlord that he has close to the main of MaNa, fly it in, and then from there, see what he's up against and then decide what he goes into. And with this Lair, like he skipped Roach-Ryan, he didn't make any Evo. I'm pretty sure we're once again going to see a Hydra then go down as soon as this Lair finishes. Here it is.
Yeah, it's a really good. That's a really good read on the way that Hydra's been just playing out his ZvPs lately, and from the way that MaNa looks like he's setting himself up. He just wants to move down, take this third base, probably start up a Twilight Council. You have to start it very soon to get his +2 in time. Lings are going to try to run by, but that cannon he warped in helps the Zealot create a full wall. Is MaNa giving Hydra too much time if he just gets a Twilight and takes this third?
The thing is, there is really not much he can do. Like, he could have tried for a parting timing, but that would have been an all-in. Like, he could have dropped, you know, 7, 8 gateways and gone for it, but if you fail a few force fields to maybe even one sometimes, you just die right out. It could have been a great thing to do against a gold base like this, to be honest. Just because it's really hard to reinforce, and like we saw the timing at which, you know, the Hydra then finished. Even though it was one of the earliest that you can get, it's still kind of late. Which really, like, is starting to make me understand why Parting somehow found success with those timings up against Hydra. But I mean, trying to copy Parting when you're a Protoss player as good as you are is like playing Zerg and saying, oh, I'm just going to go for the live build.
I'm just going to be like live.
Him.
Yeah, just get Zerglings into every single one of my opponent's bases without too much effort. And we can see actually some Zerglings trying to run here and slow down this third base. That Zealot positions itself very, very nicely with that +1 attack. It can scare off quite a few of the Lings. Yeah. And then as we have, you mentioned this earlier, it's when you have so many sentries and you can use a lot of force fields, pushing out and then recalling away is oftentimes a good way to force forces out of the Zerg.
The thing is, usually when you do this, you're hoping the Zerg is not on Hydralisks. Like if he's on pure Roach and Zergling, you fear nothing. You can force field everything out, you can recall, you're never going to lose your Mothership Core. But against Hydras, I would say, even from a very few, like as many as 5 or 6, you can lose your Mothership Core very quickly. And in this case, I think he even lost a sentry here.
Yeah, I lost a sentry to those Lings. A bit sloppy there. But I mean, he killed a lot of Zerglings. Worth, not worth.
The Hydras, they're closing in on the Mothership Core.
Oh boy.
Hashtag Rowdy Mothership Core.
I was going to say, he doesn't have the Hydralisk speed upgrade to catch that Mothership Core off creep, but that could have been very...
He has growth spines.
Very tricky. He does have the range upgrade. Hive is now starting up, so it's going to be... By the time that he could get a Colossus out, there should be Vipers coming out as well, and that really complicates things because I don't know if MaNa can afford to move... Can he afford to go to Colossi and Templar? He doesn't even have the gases on his third base. Like, yeah, I mean, he won't be able to get feedbacks against Vipers, will he?
He will momentarily, like he will start that. The thing is, he needs to see it sooner than later. And MaNa was actually a little bit panicked here because of what happened last game too. He added 2 cannons on his third base, which you really don't need to do. What you need to do instead of that is add on additional gateways to go up to, you know, 7 or 8 gateways. Have at least 6. So he made those 2 cannons, didn't make gateways instead. His production is going to be lower. And the Robo actually gets contaminated.
Yeah, that was actually a really nice contamination. Delaying that Observer is also going to delay, well, I guess anything else. Like if he wanted to go for a Warp Prism, now he won't be able to before he gets his Colossus out. Makes things a little bit trickier. And the Hydralisk speed upgrade begins, and also 5 Swarm Hosts. So Hydra is going to play this map as seriously as possible and lock everything down. The Swarm Hosts are fantastic on this map for many reasons that we've already mentioned. It's a narrow map. You don't have to rally them too much to block off a lot of different paths.
For many reasons that we've mentioned.
Well,
mention them again.
It's important, you know?
Hydra's composition, actually, like it's interesting how he gets 14 Hydralisks so that he has some initiative, not only, you know, to defend, but to be aggressive if he wants to, like he did in the previous game. But this time he chose to sit back and to transition into Swarmos. And from there, all he has to do is to think hard about what he wants to make, which in this case is going to be a few Roaches, add on some Vipers, obviously. I mean, he went into high for a reason. And then from there, Hydra is actually one of the guys who's been trying a lot to go into Broodlords, because if you can hit that one timing with Broodlords and you don't get base traded like Showtime did against Pig, you're gonna win usually.
And very, very difficult to deal with, as it's not a natural course of action to see the Protoss rush up to that air tech unless they suspect some sort of Mutalisk play.
Still no Spire here though. No Pathogen Glance as well.
And he's moving these Swarmhouse quite forward out. He knows there's no 4th base for MaNa. I don't know if there's much to be gained by trying to put pressure on, but I guess before there's a lot of Colossi, maybe it's worth trying. He's building Immortals. He's not going to do like a big Immortal Archon Storm push and just try to crack him open, is he?
I think so. Look at the gateway explosion that just happens. MaNa just made a ton of gateways.
Yeah, if he's not building Colossus, it has to be, he's going to go for like a one-punch type build, right, Todd? Or what else could he do?
I mean, if you look at the saturation, MaNa cuts at 66 probes. Exactly, that's like optimal saturation across 3 bases. Usually if you want a macro more than that, take a 4th base, you go up to 70 something. The thing is, I don't know how this is going to work, really. Like, he's going to have to feed back perfectly on the Vipers and get some very good storms off.
I mean, Blinding Clouds on top of the Photon Cannons. The Storm is nice against the Hydras, but the Waves of Locusts are starting to push in, and with the Photon Overcharge, the Photon Overcharge is also Blinding Clouded, so the Nexus Cannon can't hit anything. He's got a great spread on these forces. The Storm's not really hitting a lot of the actual units of Hydra, and he's got a great Concave. He's up double the army supply of his opponent as he continues to push in. There's not a lot of Storms left. Actually, there's no Storms left, not even turning them into Archons. Now they start, but the Roach Hydra Force is still getting a crazy amount of damage done, but 2 Immortals in the back doing everything that they can to keep this away.
Yeah, MaNa is down to his last few units here. He morphs in some Archons, but I mean, there's even some Swarmos and a big economy behind this for Hydra.
Yeah, great abduct by Hydra, pulling in that Immortal, and he's just going to try to continue to crack this up. As counterattack moves in, kills a couple drones, he might be able to snipe this base. No transfuse from Hydra, but I'm not sure if it's going to matter as the next wave of Locust pushes in. MaNa has lost the majority of his army supply, down 28 to 85. Locusts continue to press into this 3rd base, and at this point, he's just waiting for reinforcements to come down the map. He's going to target down this 3rd Nexus. The Stalkers doing everything in their power, but I think this next wave is going to kill the 3rd. These Hydras kill the Warp Prism, and with that, I think he's going to be able to kill MaNa's chances of taking this game, Todd. Hydras pick off the last of these Zealots. Stalkers are going to try to chase the Swarm Hosts, but I don't think he's going to be able to win the game with 6 Stalkers.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very important match, and MaNa is going to stay in it for now, but Hydra, he did what he had to do here. He killed the entire army, defended back at home, and even though one of his bases have been sniped, I don't think he cares. He was very rich from the start, and he's going to move in for the kill now. Great timing, you know, great macro. This was actually, you know, a very different Hydra than we saw recently up against some Protosses when we saw him go into, you know, longer games. Even at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship recently when he played against Zest. He won the first 2 games, but then after that it really looked like he didn't really know what composition to go for. These 2 games here, he looked so good. He knew exactly not only what units, what mix to go for, but when to attack exactly. And MaNa, I mean, I really don't see him staying in this game much longer here at this point. He's trying to take a 4th base. Wow, that's...
I guess you got to do something, right? In a position like this, trying to play, you know, a standard game isn't going to work out that well. You need to get that 4th. He needs that income if he wants to have a chance at coming back.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's got the +3 attack. He does have Storm, but the problem is you're still going to have to deal always with the potential that he builds more Swarm Hosts. He did actually kill a good couple of them off, so there's only 3. He won't have the infinite waves of Locusts to send at him. But, I mean, this Hydra has a lot of options, to say the least.
Yeah. He's taking his sweet time as well. He made sure, you know, to get a lot of energy up on those Vipers before moving in.
And he's got very good upgrades, too. His +3 is coming in. He's getting his Carapace upgrades. He's just going to waltz up to this Nexus and just smack it down. Tries to get a force field up. He must be a bit cautious since the Templar are close.
The
but he'd really
Templars
like to
here.
cancel this.
They are MaNa's only chance. This base is going to be cancelled.
Yeah.
MaNa realizes that he cannot fight yet.
Big
Did he
Zealot
cancel?
warp in by that third base. Yeah, I think he was able to cancel it. And the Warp Prism actually picks up these Zealots. Maybe he was a bit busy microing. He could have just picked it off. MaNa does have a good amount of minerals in the bank either way. But these Zealots just buying him some time. Hydra is going to ask for a pause. Hopefully everything is all right.
This Warp Prism is not meant to do a lot of damage. It's just meant to buy MaNa sometimes. If he can get enough Templars out, he's going to be able to do great against any kind of Roach Hydra composition, whether there is Vipers or not. And I mean, he can even feedback those. So at this point, Hydra maybe took his time a little bit too much. Like right now, he was at 187 army supply with a lot of minerals, almost 1,300, quite a bit of gas as well. So he could have maxed out maybe with a little bit better injects, gone for the kill and finished it. But rather than do that, it kind of looked like he was pulling back for now to try and defend better against the Prism. And by that, I mean actually kill it, because the Zealots on the ground are not going to be a problem. But he's morphing a greater spot.
Yeah, I mean, if you knock out the Warp Prism of the Protoss player in a situation like this where you just have more stuff, then there's not really any way for them to, you know, like you said, pull your army away. And it looks like we're probably going to have to resume this game from the replay as we just going to sort out whatever issue it was that Hydra was having. But yeah, I can't really disagree with you in that regard. The Warp Prism is all about buying time. It's not. I don't think he's going to win the game off the back of Zealot Harass. It would take a really big mistake from Hydra for that to happen.
Yeah. You would have to not look there for a very long time.
Let me just go. I mean, I guess if that was like his PC issue, basically the equivalent of like going AFK.
Oh, if you play like music, it can happen sometimes. Like you don't hear that you're losing a lot of workers, but in this case,
would you listen to music playing like a big on-stage match, WCS?
No, but quite a few people do actually. Oh, actually, no, not in WCS, I think, because it's prohibited. But in in the tournaments that it's allowed, some people always played with music. Not me though.
You think they play like quiet music or fast music?
It depends who. Like soccer, listen to metal, obviously.
Oh.
Like me usually.
How would you hear anything?
Yeah, but like it depends. Yeah, some people, they like to play music throughout entire games, but like me, for example, I like to have one song that I really like, and I play it
to
at the
go
start
into
of the game.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it finishes, then it's only game sound, and then I do Control M and then I enable the game music.
Okay.
And that helps me focus better. I'm still a terrible player, but
you've got a pretty good music meta game going on there. I'll give you that, Todd. I'll give you that. And we'll be looking to get back into this game as soon as possible. Of course, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hopefully, you guys have been enjoying the broadcast. And if you guys missed it earlier, Smix was in the crowd with David Kim. Said if you want to ask any questions, send out some tweets. # WCS. Love to hear you guys think about the show. Hopefully, you've been liking it.
People can tweet and ask for.
I mean,
questions to David Kim?
Hey man, that was what we heard. I love to really? Be like, so can we please make sure the Cyclone doesn't get nerfed?
Can you please make sure that it does get nerfed?
I'm sure like if we weigh them against each other, it'd be pretty easy. I think at some point.
I'm gonna tweet.
I'm pretty sure even the
How
Terrans.
do you beat Ravager suspect?
So if we talk about the rest of this group, right? With the position that Hydra's in, assuming that he's able to not really like throw the rest of this game away against Polt. What do you think of his chances in that series? Because I feel like Polt hasn't played, or at least I haven't seen Polt play against another Korean player at least in quite some time.
Well, don't you think that Polt was quite convincing in his first match against Firecake? Like his TVZ. For me, like his TVZ has always been very good, and like even when he was losing a little bit against Zerg, like remember like when he lost to Scarlet, I've always thought of Polt's TVZ very, very highly no matter what. And by that I mean like even when he was saying that he struggled with Zerg, he only lost to like the very best Zergs.
Yeah,
I'm not saying like, Hydra is not.
I can see what you're saying, but when I think about like how Hydra will probably end up playing versus Polt, it'll probably be more straight up. Like you think about the stuff like Hydra just being so fast, having the highest APM of any of the players in this tournament. I feel like he doesn't need to do what Firecake did, which was kind of like rely on something a little bit different. You could almost say gimmicky to rely on the Swarm host and ZVT. But
maybe we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, by the way. Like MaNa is not that far behind in supply.
There's
still a chance.
I'm thinking of hypotheticals.
Yeah. Especially since Hydra pulled back. Like he has quite a few Templars out in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it's not possible. I'm just theory crafting. Well, how do you like MaNa against Polt? As a Protoss, I don't know if you like any Protoss against Terran.
It's funny, I asked Polt earlier, like, who would you prefer to play between Hydra and MaNa? And he told me immediately, like, MaNa. He was like, I want to play against Protoss. He seems very confident against Protoss.
Pult's always been really confident against Protoss, though. Even when Protoss was like statistically, wrecking Terrans.
He was confident, but I know he was also annoyed with sometimes, some of his losses, like when he lost to Hero in the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne finals.
Yeah.
I know he was like very bothered with like, where the metagame was with the matchup.
I just find that funny because it's like, man, the metagame, and I like lost to this Protoss after he beat like 4 other ones on the way there. He's like, no, it was this one match. This one match.
I don't
is what
care
did
about
it
the
for
wins.
me.
Don't mention those.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it also comes back to, you get players that can kind of deal with his style quite well, like Classic did at BlizzCon last year. He had a really, really good way of handling Pult's very aggressive Terran versus Protoss game. But
I thought all Terrans like versus Protoss.
I think all Terrans like TVP before 16 minutes, probably, when you could just fly around with medevacs, so you don't have to worry about Storms and Colossi. But we have, I guess, the TVP metagame's kind of been weird lately. It kind of shifted in the last few months way back towards the mine drops on 2 bases.
Of course it has. You're winning a lot more now than you used to, don't you? You're streaming a lot.
Something like that.
I know my stuff.
Just don't put me against another Terran, so I don't have to deal with the medevacs myself. But we're loading back into this game, guys. So we'll be resuming momentarily as it is in the recovering process. So.
This game was basically at a point where MaNa, ideally, he would like to be able to max out. He's we're gonna be looking for a Greater Spire, at least a minimum, because if you don't see those Broodlords coming, it's very, very hard to beat them. And as much as Showtime earlier was able to base trade on Overgrowth, going around the army of Pig, base trading and going around the army of your opponent on Vani is going to be tricky. It's like only, like 2 pathways?
Yeah, the map is so narrow. There's not a lot of places to run, Todd. Yeah. Whereas especially maps like, you think about a map like Catalina, you can just hide stuff all over the place. It's a really, really good map for that. What does MaNa really have to do to bring this game back, even if he's not impossibly far behind?
I think save his War Prism that he has up there in the base of Hydra. Keep on kind of turtle a little bit, get more units, scout the Greater Spire, and then either he takes into Tempest, in which case you counter Broodlords perfectly, or he goes for a timing before Broodlords are made. Because to go for Broodlords, you have to go for Corruptors. And remember, he doesn't have a single Colossus.
Yeah.
If he fights with his army against Corruptors, he's going to be the happiest Protoss alive. He's going to storm the Roach, Hydra, Viper composition, smash it and win. So he's still in it, like 145 supply to 189. He's definitely not the biggest of gaps for PvZ.
So you say he's got a chance. As we are back into the game, we have counted in. We are live once again. Of course, as you mentioned, Johan, there's that Warp Prism, very, very important. Swinging around for MaNa, we can see it leaving the main base now. And this map, this is the place where you can hide it. But of course, there's that Greater Spire.
He did go for Colossus, actually. He has a 3rd one about to finish. Which is,
he's actually been cranking him out behind this.
Yeah.
But he won't be able to do it for long without that 4th base after it got canceled, since he's running very low on resources in his main base.
This almost. What are you doing, guys?
Is hanging out in the wrong neighborhood. That's
the War Prism got sniped finally.
He might have abducted it too. That really complicates things, because this gives Hydra a lot more freedom to move out on the map with the concentrated power of his force. He's getting that Greater Spire, like we mentioned a couple times. Still no Corruptors out on the map, so he's not going to make any use of it just yet. And I don't believe, at least last time I checked, MaNa has not seen it. Yeah, he has no idea that there's even a Spire in the first place.
And Hydra is doing something here. Like, since he has a big bank, he's maxing out on Roach, Hydra, Viper. He's going to go for a timing first, lose some of his army, try to trade as much as possible, and then later on, he's going to go into Broodlords after losing some of this army.
Yeah, it's going to be very tricky, though. He could funnel himself into a very tight choke against all these Storms if he's not careful.
The Concave is great, the one that he's setting up. Look at +3 missile attacks. It's about to finish. He's going to hit with that here.
And he's got a very nice set of upgrades. Oh yeah, first Colossus runs forward. He might be able to grab that. Blinding Clouds once again on the left side of the army. Pulls the Colossus forward. There's the Storms now hitting a lot of this army, though. There's a crazy amount of Storms to these Templar, but the Colossi walk into the Blinding Cloud. Absolutely nothing is even firing from MaNa at this point. He's pushed back into the Blinding Cloud. And, I mean, he killed off the Vipers, but this is exactly what you're saying, Johan. He traded out supply because of that larger bank that he has. Now Hydra's going to move into Corruptors. He's remaxing on Roaches as well, so he can start to get Broodlords out, too.
And MaNa, he's going for it. I really thought he was going to take a 4th base, kind of sit back, try and remax again. But he's moving out right now.
Does he even need to build Broodlords? Like, if MaNa steps on a creep, can't he just, like, overwhelm this with the Corruptors?
He's going to have to. Like, he can't, I don't think... Well, actually, like, if MaNa attacked the Golds Hydra could have sacked that to reach Broodlords because there is no Tempest, and I think he knows that there is no enough economy.
Yeah, there's not enough money for him to do it. He sent a probe to his 4th base, but Hydra actually burrowed a Roach over there, so he can't do anything.
Die Roach.
He's like, well, this is unfortunate. He has to wait for this Observer. That actually buys him enough time to get these Broodlords out without sacking any of his bases.
7 Broodlords underway.
The hero burrowed Roach, man. He pulled the whole army back for that Roach. Not a fun place to be. And 8 Broodlords with a Warp Prism on the way. It's like, yeah, the one weakness of the Broodlord is that it's very, very slow, of course.
Yeah, and Gravitic boosters. He wants to go past, you know, any kind of static defense, any kind of Spores, or even Queens. Make sure he can get away, maybe sometimes even against...
Wait, he's getting the Observer speed, man, before the Warp Prism speed. I guess he realized, he's like, well, I want to kill that burrowed Roach, but yeah, he's getting the wrong upgrade for the Warp Prisms.
Ooh, that Zealot run by on the right-hand side could actually deny a little bit of gas. There isn't that much left in there, but...
That's the benefit of taking it so early, right? Like, it's mostly gone, and now this Protoss army is going to move up, but he sees, like, oh my god, you've got Broodlords? Well... I mean, if he, in a miracle situation, these all clump up and he's able to storm them, there's the first storm thrown down on the Roaches to push him away, but he just recalls. He's like, I can't fight against this. And that Warp Prism does make its way to the northwest side. He starts up a Dark Shrine and a Stargate. 2 Stargates.
Yeah. Like, this is the panic Stargates. This is the I need Tempest Stargates. But I don't think he realized that he's about to be hit. If he knew, he would cancel that, get as many units as he can, and actually fight that. Like, if he crushes this army right now, kills the Broodlords.
Yeah, this can't be replaced. Hydra can't replace this army. The first couple storms are going to hit a lot of these Roaches, and he's actually getting some storms underneath the Broodlords. There's no Queen support for Transfuses at this moment in time. He blinks the Stalkers underneath. He's continuing to storm the rest of this army, and even though that Concave is great, the Colossi are all still standing, and they're going to clean up all of the Roaches underneath this force. Behind this, Hydra has 22 Hydralisks on the way, but his 4th base is being denied on the left side. He's getting the +3 Carapace, and those Stargates are actually going to finish with this 4th base for MaNa. He's managed to achieve all the economy that he needs, and these Broodlords are still very, very exposed.
Yeah, but I mean, if he had a pylon there, it would have been an even better build, but somehow he's killed most of this army, even with all of that. I really thought that he should cancel those Stargates, maybe even the Dark Shrine, just get more units there and kill this right out.
Yeah, this Warp Prism with the Zealots bought him a good amount of time to actually secure that. The 4th base actually did get knocked down again in all of this. And now there comes the Dark Templar. Do we have any Overseers on the map? There's one, but it's... Okay, so it's absolutely nowhere near this to actually help against this. That 3rd base for Hydra does get picked off. He's got that 4th hatchery on the way. That'll be the only resources he has access to. His main is gone. He did take his natural so late that there's a lot of money left there. But on 1 base economy, it's still going to be very, very tricky. Oh, boy.
Hydra, he has a lot of... Oh, the Warp Prism.
And he's looking to get that Warp Prism. I think the Overseer is still just kind of chilling all the way across the map. He built 2 more.
Yeah, he morphed 2 around the main, which is going to fly there and make sure he kills those DTs. But actually...
He doesn't even have Overlord speed, though, so these Overseers taking quite a bit of time to get over, and the DT could actually get away, and it will.
Yeah, Hydra forgot that he has Burrow. He could heal quite a few of these Roaches by burrowing them, or even transfuse some of his Hydralisks to make sure he has full hit point units before the next fight. MaNa right now, confident enough to move out a little bit here. He has quite a few Templars at his disposal, so even if he's getting chased, he could just pull back and storm his retreats.
Yeah, he's finally reached a really good amount of supply relative to what Hydra has. He's going to push in once again, cancels that base with the help of the DT. The Broodlords are going to try to get the first couple volleys out, but a big storm hits a half of these Hydralisks of Hydra, and now the rest of the Broodlords that are morphing are actually exposed. So another storm hits the Broodlords. He hits all of the Hydralisks, very, very clumped up. A few more of the Broodlords did finish off, but can he actually cut this army down? He's got to throw Blinding Clouds on top of the Stalkers. He does get them, but the storm's hitting the Hydralisks again. The Colossi still stand. Most of these Stalkers not able to fire because the Broodlings are preventing them from running out of the Blinding Clouds.
Yeah, and it's 50 army supply for Hydra, 37 for MaNa, who's getting pushed back right now. He's going to get chased here a little bit. Hydra shouldn't overextend. He's going to lose quite a few Hydralisks. Oh, and the Colossus is saved by the Warp Prism here. Great micro.
Good Warp Prism micro, and we look at the situation in this game. It's still very weird because it doesn't look like Hydra has that many bases, but he took that pocket base so late in the game. He still has a good amount of resources left on it.
Pocket base.
Yeah, man, it's in his back pocket. That's how it spawns in this map. But MaNa gets his 4th base on the left side, so his income is going to start to move again as well.
58 army supply to 46, but I mean, with those low amount of units here, it should be better for Protoss. The thing is, there is Vipers and Broodlords, which are really hard to fight against when you have, like, you know, just this kind of composition with no Templar, no Archon right now for MaNa. So MaNa, I think he needs to pull back, sit back here a little bit, maybe even get a few Tempests if he could. The thing is, he doesn't have a fleet beacon. Here it is. He starts a fleet beacon at his natural, it's actually pretty well hidden behind a few cannons. He's going to transfer probes to his newer base. He's actually running out of minerals even on that third base that he took earlier. So one of the good things that he could do right now is, I think, take the gold base and then threaten to do a counterattack if Hydra was to move across the map. In which case, you buy yourself enough time, you know, to reach a few Tempests. You completely negate any kind of use of these Broodlords, and then you just do great. If there is no Broodlords, then all there is Roach, Hydra, and Viper, against which you just win with regular Colossus and High Templars.
Yeah, his army composition is good enough to knock down everything that's on the ground for Hydra, and I do like that you mentioned, but the Creep Tumor blocking the gold, he's actually just long-distance mining it. A couple of Roaches are going to run into this third base, and, oh, being annoying with that burrow, where is... Actually, he lost all of his observers, so he has to build photon cannons to deal with these Roaches. Well, that's a bit unfortunate. He's got 3 more Broodlords coming in, too.
But he's finally getting Tempest, Nathanius. And 3 Tempests, they one-shot a Broodlord, man.
He's turned all of the Corruptors that he had into Broodlords as well, so he's building 2 more Corruptors.
There's going to be a very short timing during which Broodlords could be useful if he attacks with them. But again,
oh my god, all these probes kind of running the wrong way for MaNa as he's able to snipe a lot of these. That's awkward.
Attacking with Broodlords means you can't pull back with them, and usually that you're going to lose a lot of them, which is what happened in the previous time that he attacked.
He kind of like runs into this whole army and actually loses quite a few of these Stalkers. And, you know, all things considered, if that Tempest count doesn't get very high because of how poor both players are, then maybe he's got an opportunity now to snipe the Tempest. I mean, he needs as many Stalkers as he can. Like, he really can't afford to throw away any units. And I don't really feel like Hydra lost a whole lot there. He's going to try to resecure this west base again.
Yeah.
And this is a very, very important base. Like, if this warp prism just goes in and knocks this down again, I'm very, very concerned for Hydra, especially if he doesn't like get a cancel on it in time.
It's so funny how like both of these players, they are trying to assemble the perfect composition to deal with their opponents, and in the end, it's only gonna come down to 2 units: Vipers and High Templars.
Yep.
Like both of these units, they're gonna decide who wins the fight and the game.
No gravitic drive, the Vipers. If he pulls that Warp Prism, he gets it. Okay, just needs 1 more pull, and he's gonna be able to pick it off. Those Zealots are gonna die. He loses the Warp Prism, and of course that aggressive potential. With how broke both players are, they can't afford it. 3 more Broodlords are on the way. He's going up to 13. Overkill much, Todd?
Yeah.
Does he need 13?
Like, I mean,
I think he does not know that there are Tempests. Like, he must be completely clueless.
The thing is, as good as Tempests are against Broodlords, this many Broodlords are going to take a very long time to kill, and there's going to leave a lot of time for Hydra to possibly abduct some of these Tempests and kill them very quickly. Because, like, when you have Hydra is 3-3 against Tempest 2-0-0, you abduct them, and then they just, I guess, get one-shot sniped instantly. So.
Yeah. His Roach that got hit by one of the Tempest volleys should have given up the Ghost, or at least flying over Creep. That'll probably tell him that you have Tempests as well.
I can't believe that MaNa was moved out here for a second. He definitely needs to be, you know, a lot more defensive, push back the Creep with just Stalkers and Observer, which is what he's doing right now. And kind of wait until he gets more and more Tempest.
Now, this has been a very, I mean, I gotta say, all things considered, MaNa has done a really good job of salvaging this game to put himself in a position where maybe he can make the miracle play. There's not a lot to deal with the Tempests, but if those Broodlords don't do anything, like we said, the rest of the army is quite strong against everything else that Hydra has.
The army supply is very scary, actually. It's 134 for Hydra, 92 for MaNa here. So he's gearing up for an attack here, and having a lot of creep like this will help a lot with the vision. Hydra just making sure that he actually maxes out before this happens.
He's sending out the Observer with the Stalkers. He wants to get some vision now so that he can try to get some preemptive strikes on the Broodlords. And like you said, pick off these oh-so-important Creep Tumors. He's actually denying a significant amount of vision. And now the army shows up. He's like, okay, I can just blink back. It's no big deal.
The pocket expansion, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, he put that money, he saved it for a rainy day, Todd. And it's very, very difficult to harass. In fact, he might not have even been thinking about harassing it because he just assumed it would have been mined out a long time ago.
Hey, it's so funny how that turned out.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, why would I drop Zealots in a base that's probably mined out by now? It's like, no, this has actually been my only economy for the last few minutes until I got this left base.
MaNa's moving out here a little bit. He definitely should be looking to max out. This is very dangerous for both players.
You don't want to make too many donations today. So the Broodlords, he's getting into a position where he could kind of like choke this army, but it's still very tricky since he doesn't want to fight in a clump against the Storms. The Templar are not quite in position. He's going to get to work on this
He's going to go for the fight here, MaNa. He whopped in a lot of zealots. He's going for it.
Yeah, he's bringing everything in. The Templar are not quite in position, so the Blinding Clouds are going to buy him some space. They're the first Storms drop, but not on a lot. The Corruptors getting to work on the Tempest. He's going to almost knocks one of the Tempests down. The Broodlords are still fighting, though. I guess it doesn't really matter. If the Tempests aren't shooting the Broodlords, he's not going to be able to do too much. He denies one of the mining bases of MaNa. He's still sitting comfortably at 200 supply. More Roaches on the way, more Hydras, but these Tempests are starting to one-shot the Broodlords, Todd.
Yeah, they're killing more and more of them, but I don't know on the ground.
There's the Abduct.
Enough.
Gets one Abduct, kills off one Tempest. He's looking to get the second kill. He grabs that, so not too shabby. Also, at the same time, the Zealot Warping going into the northwest base. One Hydralisk to defend is not going to be enough. Sends all of his army over there. He does need to desperately hold on to this economy. Taking any more bases, you're basically putting yourself within a screen or two away of your opponent.
With Storm plus Colossus, it's just so hard for Hydra to win a fight on the ground. That's why he's so scared of attacking, even though he has way more army. Colossus plus High Templar can kill infinite amounts of army and units. And Hydra is going to have to be a little bit more patient. I like what he's doing, you know, with denying this base, he's going to send a lot of changelings forward. Going to be able to spot, you know, not only those High Templars, but Tempest as well. Could go forward with just a few Roaches and trade them for High Templars, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, MaNa kind of has to sit back by these cannons to defend. There's no more Vipers this time around, so we won't see any Blinding Clouds. We won't see any Abducts. And Hydra, we can also see, isn't mining gas off this base. So he's starting to bank up minerals. Yeah. So might want to take those extractors soon. He needs to get another mining base. Both players are mining off of one base at this point. That natural for Hydra, the pocket base, is running out.
MaNa made a lot of High Templars, by the way. Probably, maybe a little bit too many. So in the end, he had way too many minerals. He had to make a lot of Zealots. And right now, he's pretty gas-starved, so if he makes an Oracle, that would be very, very costly in gas, but I feel like he has to. Like, against this army, you need to see it coming from afar. You need to be able to shoot at it with the Tempest from afar to pick units off before the fight even begins. And man, these Zealots...
Well, they're trying to just focus down this hatchery. They would love to grab with that +3 attack. They're quite strong, but this army responds in time. And
MaNa was closing in on the Broodlords here for a second. Oh my god.
Trying to make some ninja plays. We know we talked about how slow those Broodlords are. And I think it's also been really smart that like this probe's going to go to the gold base, but I believe there's something burrowed there, so
yeah, Roach.
It's going to be very annoying.
These freaking Roaches, man.
Yeah, not going to kill that with a probe. He needs to send a nice chunk of his forces over here. Oh wait, did he lose all of his observers again? Yes, he did actually. He spilled another observer.
Oh,
that's really frustrating.
He's going to try to finish the hatchery.
Oh, he's trying to be the hero.
With now, +3, man.
I mean, the Spine's going to finish. The drones with the Spine are going to try to defend this base. It's so low, he does. Ooh, barely managed to defend it. He's like, okay, throw a transfuse on that. Hold it down.
Those Roaches are toast, man.
Now, is the Observer here? The Observer should be here like any second now. I was going to say, I wouldn't even mind.
Speed, man.
Those Roaches like popped up and tried to snag one of those Templar retreating. I don't know, the dream.
Did you see the speed on the Observer?
Yeah, so fast. Next thing, we get like the next skin, man, when you get the Speed Observer upgrade. Give us some like chrome rims on that baby, too. Like Roddy. He's going to chase down these Zealots again, and if he's able to keep any more harassment coming towards that base, you know, he can start to bank up a bit. He did take the extractors, so he's going to get a better army. He's actually spreading his army out a lot for a big concave, but some great storms knocking this army back. The Tempests are going to get focused down by the Corruptors. He moves in one Tempest down. He's going for two. He's moving closer and closer, but a lot of the storms are actually hitting the Corruptors. He's running out of hit points. All the Corruptors are actually dying.
Those storms did so much damage, but I don't think they're going to be enough. The Broodlords completely ignored during most of this fight. Finally going to get hit by some storms. But there's going to be enough transfuse to defend them from the last few Stalkers of MaNa. I think Hydra's finally done it.
Yeah, the Tempests are starting to fall. He will be able to pick off all of the Corruptors, but the Broodlords have done more than they needed to throughout all of this. There's just two Colossi remaining in the game. The Tempests are going to try to chase down these Broodlords, the battle of two very, very slow forces. But Hydra secured the second base in the center during all of this. Even though that gold base is close to finishing up, Hydra has an opportunity now where that big, expensive army is so hard to reproduce.
One Hydra against two Tempests, chasing them down right now.
Oh, he's got the Corruptors mixed in here too. These Tempests actually a bit overextended. The Colossi are going to try to come help. Well, at the same time, some more Zealots move towards the northwest, but all these Spine Crawlers should be able to keep this base alive. Another wave of Zealots is coming in, but now the Roaches and Hydras should be able to defend it. He's got his bases locked down. He knows that that gold base is going to be his next big target. 36 drones, 27 probes. Both players are just flat broke, Todd.
Yeah, both players down to their last few forces. The thing is, the economy is much better here for Hydra, and by that I mean he's on 36 drones against 30 probes.
Yeah, and he killed, almost killed all the Tempests. The last two were able to barely escape with the help of those Stalkers and the Colossi coming back. 2 Tempests versus 5 Broodlords. And I like that you mentioned he just kind of ignores the Tempest with the Broodlords. He's like, I just need to do as much damage as I can. Oh, actually just snipes one off there. Not too bad. And now the Corruptors are going to move in once again. He picks off 1 Tempest, gets one of the Colossi. Of course, if the Colossi fall, those Hydras become much more relevant. The Corruptors moving in. That last Tempest is so low on hit points. He picks it off. Now the Broodlords can continue to fight with impunity as this Colossus gets raised. And now there's something that can defend. The gold base is going to move the Roaches in. He's going to move the Hydralisks in. The Nexus will fall. The Probes as well. And with that, MaNa's chances in this game, he's way too limited economy with a Hydra that's mining off of 2 bases now. 16 Roaches in production. He's going to send these across the map down 134 supply to 43. Hydra he's unstoppable at this point. The last couple of Stalkers are going to move out across the map for MaNa. He's going to try to make something happen, but it's not enough. GG. Hydra will go on to face Pult in the winners match. What a sick game, Ton.
What a sick game indeed. MaNa, you know, we kind of said he was dead early on.
Yeah, I tried to count him out.
Yeah, me too. And somehow, you know, he hung in there for a very, very long time. Even made me believe at some points. Gonna shake the hand of his opponent here.
Yeah, I mean, when you watch that Protoss army collide with the Zerg army, and it's like the Protoss is down a good 90 supply, and at the end of the fight, they're both back towards 100, and you get incredibly cost-effective fights with all those storms. But you know, replacing the Templar when you're on such limited economy, Hydra securing that second base in the center, and being able to deny the Zealot harass and the Dark Templars and all the Warp Prisms to keep those 2 bases alive was like the #1 key, I feel, for his success at the end of the game. Like, if that hatchery gets sniped, he's slowed down so much.
Not just that, I think sniping the base of MaNa in the middle is really what set him behind economically enough that he couldn't, you know, max out on the units that he wanted and have some remax potential.
Yeah, it was an absolutely crazy game going the distance, but Hydra able to take the 2-0. Let's hear his thoughts on the main stage with Smix.
Thank you very much, Apollo. Congratulations, Hydra, on defeating your opponent so convincingly. But I need to jump into that game too right away, as it was very, very back and forth. You started out being in a huge advantageous situation, and then the game got very difficult for you. What do you think went wrong?
Second game was some close game because of I made some mistake when I fight with him, and yeah, that's the reason, I think.
Well, luckily you were able to bring it out to a close in your favor at the end of that game and bring it to a 2-0. Your next opponent will be Pult, and you have played him earlier this year and you beat him, so does that give you confidence, or are you still worried because he is a very good player and he actually beat Firecake very convincingly?
Yeah, I have confidence against Pult, of course, and yeah, I feel like already advanced round of 8, yeah.
That's actually funny that you say that, because when we talked to Pult, he said the same thing, that he thinks that he's gonna win easy and he wants to win the whole thing. So he doesn't seem worried about you, but so you're saying you're gonna beat Pult easy?
Yeah.
All right, Hydra. Last but not least, before I let you go, you've been living in America for a few months now, but only recently are you starting to show some really good results. Last week, you got 2nd place at Gfinity. Today, you've already won your first game here at WCS Day 1. What do you think is the reason that you're doing so well now?
I think what I did was just hard practicing and find my opponent's information. Yeah, I think that's the reason.
All right, well, thank you very much, Hydra. That will wrap up our matches for this group. Let's hear what the boys over at the desk have to say about the results so far.
Thank you very much, Smix, and what an awesome game that was. A lot of fun to watch, very exciting and back and forth. We really couldn't tell who was going to win that, but at the end it is Hydra who closes up with a 2-0. Roddy.
Yeah, no, awesome game 2. Game 1, obviously not too much to talk about. When we had that amazing game 2, and at a certain point we all look at it, it's like, well, you know, it's kind of over, and then suddenly you see MaNa harassing a little bit on the other side, and you're like, well, the dream is alive, but not really. And then suddenly you look at his army, you're like, oh my god, that army is actually better, and then you just see the supply plummeting from Hydra. And at a certain point I really thought that MaNa was going to be able to want to close it out, and then suddenly the swarm strikes back again. But that was just the way that you enjoy a StarCraft 2 game. You just sit back, you don't know what's going to happen, there's action all over the place, different tech switches as well, like I loved everything about that game. I thought it was awesome from both sides.
Yeah, best game of the tournament so far, you'd say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
The thing is the way he actually did that in game 2, especially MaNa, the hold. Vani Research Station at the third can be sometimes very, very difficult. And then the transitions on, that is a testament to how MaNa is at the moment, skill level-wise. He's doing well.
All right, so final thoughts on that match there before we wrap up for Group C?
Yeah, the last game there, just about the control for MaNa there, trying to come back in that force field, storm, blanketing the entire army, but obviously Hydra stuck it in there at the end.
Yeah, lovely series between those two. Unfortunate for MaNa, he will have to face off in the lower bracket. We can actually take a closer look at that bracket to see exactly where we are as we finished up with Group C today. Pult versus Hydra will be our winners match tomorrow, with Firecake and MaNa playing against each other just for old time's sake.
Oh dear.
The longest game in StarCraft 2 history, pretty much. Is it the longest? It is,
Well,
right?
I mean, Lila Kanan in the WCS qualifiers.
Yeah,
like, that
in
kind
The
of-
longest game in StarCraft WCS tournament history.
Yeah.
Can repeat itself.
that was a WCS qualifier, though. I'm sorry.
That doesn't count. No WCS points on the line.
Oh,
Kind of.
Okay, one of the longest games in StarCraft history.
Okay, it was
gonna
a
repeat
record
itself.
holder for the longest
record holder.
game.
The most
in
memorable
StarCraft.
one.
Yes, it's
That
where
is-
it all started.
That was a big one. All right, let's go to break before we come back. We're starting with Group D.